що завгодно під колеса техніки російської.
A Russian convoy moved through what looked like empty terrain. Roads, tree lines, staging areas, all quiet. No incoming fire, no obvious threat. The column kept pushing forward, but the sky above was already watching. Reconnaissance drones had been tracking that exact route long before the first vehicle appeared. Every turn, every stop, every gap between trucks, all of it recorded, analyzed, passed forward. The convoy didn't know it yet, but the attack had already begun. Not with an explosion, with a camera. What happened next is no longer unusual on this battlefield. It is becoming the default. Something fundamental has shifted in modern warfare. Not long ago, artillery and missiles were the weapons everyone feared most. Now drones are responsible for more than 80% of the attacks, causing Russian losses on the battlefield in Ukraine. But the real shift isn't the drone itself. It's what happens before the drone arrives. A vehicle can survive artillery fire, cross minefields, and keep fighting because its armor still protects the crew. But if that same vehicle is spotted by a reconnaissance UAV for just a few extra seconds, the entire situation changes before the crew even understands what is happening. The danger doesn't start with the explosion. It starts when a UAV sees the route, follows the vehicle, and keeps the target inside the kill chain. Reconnaissance. UAVs don't destroy targets. Their job is something more important. They transform movement into targeting information. Tanks, armored vehicles, trucks, support vehicles, all tracked as they move across the landscape. A vehicle disappears behind trees or buildings, but the drone keeps watching, minute after minute, sometimes longer. The battlefield stops being open terrain and becomes a monitored space where every movement can trigger the next stage. The most dangerous moment for any vehicle isn't when it's moving fast, it's when it slows down. A tank turning toward cover, an armored vehicle slowing near a road, a truck trying to separate from a convoy. Those few seconds create the short window that a drone pilot needs. And when an entire convoy begins adjusting its movement, those opportunities multiply very quickly. For Russian units, this means the danger begins before the first strike. It begins the moment a UAV sees the route and the target enters the watched kill zone. Traditional armor should solve the problem. It doesn't. FPV drones don't behave like artillery shells flying on one fixed path. They can dive from above, swing around obstacles, approach from behind cover, and chase a vehicle as it tries to escape. A truck escaping down a road can still find a drone adjusting to where it's going. Artillery fires where a target was. An FPV drone can follow where a target is going. That flexibility creates problems that conventional defenses struggle to answer. But the real danger isn't the drone's speed. It's where it hits. Ukrainian operators aren't trying to smash through the thickest frontal armor. They're looking for geometry, angles, gaps, open hatches, rear compartments, lower side areas, exposed sections near equipment. A direct hit on thick frontal armor may produce smoke and little else. A hit into the right gap produces something different entirely. Open hatches are among the most dangerous weak points. A tank is built to stop threats from the outside. Once a drone enters through an open hatch, the explosive force is no longer pushing against armor. It's inside the fighting compartment, near crew positions, electronics, fuel vapors, stored ammunition. A small warhead in the right place creates damage far beyond its size. Tracks are another critical target. On a battlefield under permanent surveillance, mobility is survival. A vehicle that keeps moving can escape a fire zone, reach cover, reposition. Once the track is broken, that same vehicle becomes a fixed point on a map. It may still have its gun, it may still have armor, but it no longer decides where the battle happens. The battlefield controls it. And from that moment, armor is no longer being hit. It is being processed through observation, testing, damage, and confirmation. Back to that convoy. The lead vehicle takes a hit. The road is blocked. Drivers behind have seconds to react. Some stop, some turn. Others leave the route entirely. Vehicles expose their sides. Formations collapse. Spacing disappears. One accurate strike begins spreading disruption across the entire column. And above all of it, the reconnaissance UAV is still watching. New vulnerabilities appear as vehicles scatter. Hidden vehicles become visible when they move. The convoy is no longer traveling through terrain. It is trapped inside a monitored battle space where every attempt to escape reveals another target. The kill zone grows around them before anyone on the ground fully understands what's happening. Then the layered attacks begin. The first FPV doesn't always aim for the decisive hit. It targets the outer protection, cage armor, nets, improvised shielding. Once that layer is torn away, the second drone has a cleaner angle at the exposed section. The third searches for the decisive weak point that's just been revealed. Each drone creates a new condition for the drone that follows. What looks like one attack is a sequence. Russia has responded. Cage armor, drone nets, camouflage, night movement, electronic warfare. Sometimes these defenses work. A drone strikes the outer cage instead of the turret. A net breaks the attack angle. But protection against one strike doesn't end the threat. As long as the reconnaissance UAV remains overhead, operators can study the vehicle, test its defenses, wait, and find another opening. A protected vehicle that remains visible can be studied, tested, and struck again. Now, imagine the vehicle survives the first sequence. That sounds like success. It isn't, not inside the watch zone. A damaged vehicle that can be towed away might return to service. A vehicle trapped under drone surveillance faces a different situation. Recovery crews become targets. The routes leading to the vehicle can be watched for hours. Even the recovery path comes under observation before help arrives. At night, bomber drones take over. They don't need to rush. A bomber drone can hover above a disabled vehicle and drop munitions repeatedly until fire, secondary explosions, or structural damage make recovery impossible. A vehicle that survived the first strike, the second, even the third, can still become a permanent loss, simply because the sky never stopped watching. That is the deeper logic of the watched kill zone. Survival is not safe if the kill chain remains active. This story isn't really about tanks anymore. Ukraine's drone campaign has moved beyond armored vehicles at the front line. It is now reaching into the systems that allow Russia to see, jam, defend, and supply its forces. Radar stations provide early warning when Ukrainian drones enter a sector. Electronic warfare vehicles try to cut control links, confuse navigation, and force drones off target. Air defense launchers protect troops and infrastructure from aerial attack. Together, they form a protective network. When drones locate and damage these assets, the effect spreads far beyond one destroyed vehicle. A gap opens in the protective screen. Nearby units become more exposed. Battlefield awareness becomes harder to maintain when the systems designed to provide it are suddenly under attack. Logistics carries the same vulnerability. Fuel trains, ammunition shipments, supply routes, all trackable from above. One accurate strike on a fuel car can start a fire. A hit near ammunition can trigger a chain reaction. The result isn't only a burning rail line, it means delayed deliveries, lost stockpiles, blocked routes, and mounting pressure on transport planning across the entire operational area. When radar teams and logistics units believe they can be watched deep behind the line, they must move more carefully, hide longer, change routes more often. Each small delay weakens the tempo of a larger operation. A unit at the front may need fuel, shells, or air defense cover at a specific hour. If that support arrives late, the assault loses momentum. The battlefield is no longer divided neatly between frontline combat and rear area safety. Not every high-value target can be destroyed by a small FPV alone. That's where the full kill chain comes together. A reconnaissance UAV finds and follows. An FPV tests, damages, or stops movement. A bomber drone attacks slowly when the target cannot escape, hovering, dropping, waiting. Rocket artillery delivers the heavy blow when the target is too strong for light payloads, because once a location is confirmed and tracked, the target no longer needs to be destroyed by a drone at close range. It can be struck by rockets carrying far more force. Together, these tools create a battlefield system, not a collection of separate strikes. Each layer performs a different role. Each one creates the conditions for the next. For Russia, this creates a deeper problem. A vehicle or system doesn't need to be destroyed immediately to be in danger. It only needs to be found, fixed in place, and kept under observation until the right weapon arrives. Russia hasn't stood still. Cage armor, nets, camouflage, electronic warfare, night movement, all of it has appeared across the battlefield. Fiber optic FPV drones, which use a physical cable instead of radio signal and are nearly impossible to jam, have spread rapidly on both sides. Ukraine is also developing high-speed interceptor drones designed to hunt enemy UAVs directly in the air. Every new defensive layer creates pressure for a new offensive adaptation. Every successful countermeasure forces a tactical reinvention. The race never stops. Return to that convoy one final time. The vehicles that survived the first strike weren't safe. They were simply at an earlier point in the kill chain. Being seen had already made them targets. Surviving the first hit only gave drone operators more information about movement patterns, defensive weaknesses, which direction was easier to hit next. That is what Ukraine has built, not a collection of drone strikes. A system, surveillance, tracking, layered damage, confirmation, running continuously, day and night, across an entire battlefield. Armor is not only being hit, it is being processed. And in that system, the decisive question is no longer how thick the armor is or how large the warhead is. The question is simpler than that, and far harder to answer. Who sees first, locks the target faster, and keeps the kill chain alive longer?